After 240 minutes of rugby, the Lions have pipped it. 3 games, 2 wins, and just +1 on the aggregate. With what felt like about 100 or so Irish players and staff, 1,000 more expats and travelling supporters on the ground, I think this one could be rightly claimed as ours. And who better than 3 Irishmen to discuss it all? So let's kick off the show. Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Interpro Show, your home for all things Irish rugby, as we discuss the latest news, highlights, gossip from around the professional and amateur men's and women's game in Ireland. I'm your presenter in chief, Ciaran Scully, and I'm joined as always by Ulster Adam and Limerick Ben. Lads, we have so much to get our teeth into, from Lions to tier rankings, women's, clearouts, tries, so much. We will get into it all. So we're gonna start down under and we'll return home from there. As I said, the Lions have done it. History makers. They went unbeaten in Australia in games that didn't have a stoppage due to weather. So remarkable, remarkable, remarkable stuff. Adam, I'll throw the first word to you. I know the third test was a bit of a damp squib, but Australia did claim it. Just your general thoughts on the 3 tests, the 9 or so games over the last number of weeks.
Um, so I went into an earlier podcast and said a win for Australia would be 2-1. I didn't expect the 2-1 to be halted by a storm, and Sky Sports keep on saying like, ah, a lightning bolt within 10 kilometers. That's the 30 minutes restarted onto the clock, and seeing just how mental that all became. But I think it was an interesting tour. It's not one of those Lions tours. I think it'd be remembered because they won it. I don't think it's going to be necessarily remembered for like any necessarily iconic moments. Like I would think of the last like 2013 Lions tour, you had sort of like the Lee Halfpenny performance and the George North try when he pointed down Will Guinea. Nothing really happened like that. There was like a couple of punches. That third test seemed like it was a scrap from the get-go. Will
That that
Skelton,
that was the most action we got in about
it
10
was
weeks. It was great. It was great
exactly, yeah.
crack. Do you know the way
It
commentators
was
often say we don't like to see these things? We absolutely
oh
do like
gee.
to see these things. Couple of scraps, bit of verbals, bit of fistic. Everyone in. Go on. Just give.
Yeah, it was good, and it was like it's almost like you want to see that in a Lions squad because then you can tell how much of a team they've become. I like pointed back
Cohesion.
again, cohesion, but I pointed back, however, to the 2013 one when Owen Farrell got rattled in the face by Brits in the Barbarians game, and they all started fighting, and that was a great tour. However, this tour didn't have that. This tour didn't
Yeah.
have that. Like, do you know what I
Sure.
mean?
But it
This.
did have storms. It did have pitch invaders. It did have some elite commentary of just Ron O'Gara going, wrong option, wrong op. Oh, that's lovely. And weirdly, it was weirdly enticing. It was like, I want to listen to more of this.
Him and Bigger could do a podcast and I'd listen to it. And that's what
Yeah,
I'm so surprised about this.
if it gets
I'd
bigger
take away
off the
from this
rugby
like
pod, then that's a bonus. Ben, I want to bring you in here because, as we kind of said, it was a bit of a, I don't want to say a nothing tour. Lots happened. But can you tell me what happened is the other thing. We'll get on to the second test in a minute. That's where most of the action was.
But
I'm
also,
going to throw a curveball at you, though. Lions win this 2-1 by a +1 aggregate. Battle of the coaches, the minds, everything about it. Who do you think is the winner between Andy Farrell and Joe Schmidt? Because we will get on to Andy Farrell in a couple of minutes. I just want to get your take on this.
I genuinely think Josh Schmidt. Yes, he had everything wrong in the first test. The first test, and I had a joke that I think I put on X, was they sent Joe Schmidt to World Cup in Japan for test one. And it was almost like he's forgotten everything that he was doing. He had no game plan. He had Will Skelton running around like a headless chicken. Game two and game three was exactly what you want from Australia and from a Joe Schmidt coach team. They were well organized, they were powerful, arguably won that second test. I know they didn't, and there's decisions we will come to,
We'll get on to that in just a minute. Yep.
but Australia win that test. Third test was a clinic. Even without the lightning break, it was an absolute clinic. And like Adam made the point that we said 2-1 a couple of weeks back would be a good result for Australia. They'll be fuming they didn't win that series.
yeah.
Well,
Uh,
I'm gonna let you weigh in on this, Adam, and then I'm gonna throw a tweet up on screen. So your thoughts on the incumbent versus the master, if you can call it that, between Schmidt and Farrell.
I think it just sort of like the first test. I thought it was like, oh, is Schmidt a bit like washed up? Is he a bit washed up?
yeah.
Is that the case? Sort of like lent Andy Farrell into this sense of, oh, I can call up Owen, and he did. Um,
He's not gonna see this coming. Oh no, he actually did.
yeah, but I think Joe Schmidt in the second test and the third test, there was a lot of like I know it's probably going to be said in the thing, but the back three play of the Lions, bar Hugo Keenan in that second test, the wingers well Freeman was quite bang average, let's just say. I'd say in those couple of tests, and I could honestly say that the Australian wingers had it completely right. Just every time they played, they were just like scoring in tries. It was a weird one. I think Joe Schmidt was it was sort of that tactical masterclass that we used to see when he was at Leinster and in Ireland. He has to get beat once to figure out what's going on. Do you know what I
I
mean?
mean, there was an element to that actually to Joe Schmidt's Ireland tenure where
Yeah.
that second game he ever had against Australia was one of the worst performances Ireland put up for about 5 years. And then
Hmm.
they should have beaten the All Blacks a week later. The tweet I've put up on screen for anyone in audio is Tom English of BBC Sport, a Limerick man like Ben, of course. He said Lions spoke constantly about winning the series 3-0. That was their target. They were completely outplayed tonight, being the third test. Scary how close they came to possibly losing the series. Some world class players, but not a world class squad.
Yeah.
Who wants? Do you know what? I'm going to weigh in first. I think this is pitch perfect. This Lions squad, and I've said it before, I don't think it's as deep as say 2017. I think that's the bar of one of the best Lions squads in a long, long time.
Hmm.
But at the same time, you go through, say, like, I'll just base it off of minutes because that's a kind of an easy way to kind of scroll down through things. But if you go through like who played for the Lions, Clyburn, most minutes, undisputed, he was unbelievable. Thought Hugh Jones did well. But if you're looking at their world class players and like you're looking at say, okay, Toji and Russell did well, fair enough. Don't think Bundy was at his best. I don't think Bundy or Tui Pilati were at their best. I think Gibson Park was fairly close to it, to be fair. Jack Morgan, Tyke Furlong was not at his best, but at his late career best. Kinghorn wasn't at his best, neither was James Lowe. Josh Van der Fleer as well. Like a lot of players who you had high hopes for, Andrew Porter, they weren't like, and you can talk about like cohesion and you can talk about all these things. And there is a theory that goes around that the big downfall of cohesion is the longer you play a team, the more their cohesion goes up, and yours just you can't max it out anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when you reach the top level of a game, your progress stalls. Everyone else can still keep going till they reach yours. And I don't know. And like, Adam, I'll come to you first in this one. Do you think it's fair to say that the Lions not underachieved? They won 2-1. It's an unbelievable achievement, don't get me wrong. But after everything that was said, and we basically had this trend of, people on podcasts, not this one, of course not this one because we're brand new, basically going, sure, if the two of us went down to Australia, we'd beat them. And doesn't that kind of add to the deflating nature of like, yeah, do you know?
Yeah, the state of Australian rugby before this Lions tour was like in such disregard. They're almost sort of like the Wales in Southern Hemisphere rugby. Like they would be sort of that class. Not necessarily all the losses, but like it's one of those where they they were good. They were very good, and they're sort of like limping at the minute. But this one, like they almost need to, like this is the start of their 2 year wind up to their home World Cup, isn't it?
Yeah.
So they needed something out of this tour. If it was a 3-0 damp squid game, which most of like sort of like your Sky Sportses would say, oh, we haven't had a 3-0 since 1971. Okay,
Well, we
that
have, just not in the Lions' favor. I think they forgot that.
yeah, yeah, that's the
2005
thing. Yeah.
was an utter embarrassment. And like, I know we've said it before, there was a couple of comparisons with 2005. I think the likes of the Nusa thing with the camera during the tar
I
test is
don't know.
one of them. Like all
What
we
was
were
the
watching
point?
was Finn Russell playing like, I don't know,
Candy
Candy
Crush.
Crush? Yeah, something like that
Yeah.
on his
But
phone, or
what was the
just
point of Nucifora being on the test?
that's an entirely different question.
Oh,
But
But
I we've a lot to get through, lads, so I do want to move on. But just finally to yourself, Ben, like
Yeah.
on this, the idea that this was not like very good squad and maybe didn't reach the most out of what they should have. And then you look at like Alex Mitchell, 8 games played, averaging 26 minutes. We did the maths there beforehand. Marcus Smith, mainly on the bench. There was really no, I don't want to say there was no plan B, but it did feel like a lot of the test team was settled and nailed down in stone. And like someone like Scott Cummings, who was playing better than James Ryan up until his selection, and we wish James Ryan all the best with his injury. It was very unfortunate. But there is moments of that like you look at a Lions tour, which is so nebulistic from the outside looking in, and I always get this from people I work with who aren't into rugby. They're like, "Do you care about the Lions?" And I'm like, "No, like
No.
obviously not. I just want to see tactics." But I'm a nerd like that, and that's why I'm doing a podcast at 11 a.m. on a bank holiday Monday morning. But again, to just kind of do that, Ben, kind of just not the best, and it kind of leaves this sense of like it was fine, and I did see someone saying kind of pre-seasony at times, and I don't think that's unfair either.
No, I think preseason is actually a great way to put it. And I know we said 2-1 is an achievement, but with this squad, and considering where Australia rugby are, is 2-1 really an achievement, considering how
It's
the
an
games
achievement,
went?
but
It's
I
an
think
achievement.
it's the minimum. It's
Exactly. It's the minimum expected going into this. Was the Lions would win. We'd take 2-1. It should be 3-0. Squad wise, it's a fault of Farrell in general. He has his 23, he has his 15. He has it for Ireland. He mostly has it for Leinster. And he came into the Lions squad and said, "This is my 23." He lost Gary Ringrose. Fine. He brought in someone. He made a centre partnership work very well. James Ryan would have started. James Ryan would have not come off in Test 3 if he hadn't got injured.
Yeah.
I like Andy Farrell, but the Lions showed everything. They showed the exact issue with Andy Farrell's squad. It's cohesion. It's this 23. If that doesn't work, cool. That 23 goes and does it again.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Yeah.
Can I add one more thing to that? It almost, I can't believe I'm saying this, it makes me appreciate the Warren Gatland selections in 2017,
Yep.
for example, because, in
Oh, he's right.
2017,
Don't tell him.
no,
Don't tell him.
yeah, I won't tell him, but it like the 2017, you had much more like fluidity. You had much more like I'm gonna play this Irish centre with this Welsh centre. I'm gonna play this Irish centre with this Scottish centre, Scottish Welsh, and be like. Whereas Andy Farrell, you had to be Irish and Irish. You had to be Scottish and Scottish.
Right,
Like
lads.
you
Right,
had.
lads.
Do you know
It's
what I
2025.
mean?
We can't get into these questions. We can't. It's too risky. We're gonna
No,
have
but
gobshites in our comments.
no, but the Lions. The beauty of the Lions is trying out those combinations. It's the beauty of the Lions is seeing your favorite player play against the one that you hated in
And that's what he got
February in
praised
Six
for.
Nations.
In fairness to Farrell, and I'm not defending him out of like a loyalty or anything like that. I don't have a loyalty to anyone. But in fairness to him, he did get praised for going with like Tui Pilatu and Ringrose and going with
Yeah,
Jones and Aki in the warm-up games because it was kind of seen as, oh, here we go. He's thinking, well, I don't need to blood the two lads who know each other. I'll put the other lads together. And that was really smart. And like
to be
the
fair.
prime example is Itoje and Byrne. And I know Itoje gets held to such a high standard.
Yeah,
Jesus, they were phenomenal. Like getting the
yeah.
two of them on the field, it felt like every maul was under pressure because the two of them were there, and like that says a lot. But as you kind of both said, this is Farrell ball. It's cohesion, and if at first it doesn't work, try it again.
And like we've said for a while, like the Lions, in my head, is barbarians from Britain and Ireland. That's what it's supposed to be.
Competitive barbarians tour, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Gatlin got that. Farrell for the midweek tests got that 100%. But when it came to ships were down, he's like, this combination will work and this combination will get me 3-0 unless I'm forced to change it. And that's not what the Lions is about. It's meant to be fun.
Yeah,
On Adam.
and it answers the age-old question: what would a centre partnership of Jamie Osborne and Owen Farrell would be? But like, you know,
Well, they did
it was
play
actually, it
together,
actually,
in fairness.
it actually,
I'm sure
it
Owen
actually,
Farrell never seen that coming. Well, I'm sure Jamie
No.
Osborne was probably told in advance, but and that's again the funny part of the whole like, and like credit to Owen Farrell. I actually think he did all right. I
He
know
actually, yeah,
yesterday
he
not as
did, yeah.
well, or not yesterday, Saturday not as well, but like this whole thing of like, oh Jesus, Owen really knows the playbook. It's like really. I wonder why.
Owen had the
Because
playbook inside his
not
crib.
only is the base layer what Ireland have been doing since 2020, the base layer of that is what Stuart Lancaster were doing at Leinster. So where do you think that came from? Like this isn't like, and I didn't watch Happy Gilmore 3 or 2. This isn't
Oh,
like this
great
new
film.
reimagined thing. It's not.
It's really good.
We've all seen this before, and we won't get into that because I don't want to talk about it. But
Happy
I just
Gilmore
want
or
to talk.
Cohesion? Which one? Sorry.
Rory McIlroy was a great actor in that film.
Oh
Anyway, so
Jesus, Scotty Scheffler was actually a really good actor, and
he
you
was
know what?
actually a really good actor. That was
If we
really
have time at
good.
the end, we'll talk about which rugby players we think could make good actors. And Carlo Cesano's going to be one of them, unfortunately. But that is what I wanted. That's a really bad, really good segue. Because I want to get into the moments of that second test. There's two in particular, because Australia lost that by a score. Um, Ben, I know your opinion on the Dan Sheehan one, so I'm going to start with Adam.
Yep.
Dan Sheehan's try. I put up a poll on Instagram, got a good few responses. It was overwhelming. This is a try. I feel like the 2E side with me. Groupthink, maybe. Maybe have a gun to your heads. I don't know. I think you're going to say no try for that one.
Yeah, I do think I think what I found about oh no, I hate talking about like try no try, but I think it was a no try, and I think in the objectively skeptic in me and the Lions, I would love it to be a no try because this third test would have had more jeopardy. Um but yeah, it's sort of it's one of those, isn't it? It's just whatever the ref says on the pitch. It's whatever the ref says on the pitch, and like he always, yeah. I don't want to get
That
into that.
referee in question. But
Yeah,
we do have
they're
a
Exactly.
interpreting the
Yeah,
referee.
rules. I mean, what's he meant
This,
to do, lads?
this is a
yeah.
good time to bring it in
That's
because we
true.
do have a referee in our midst with the Munster Association of Referees branch, I think is what it
Yes,
goes by.
correct.
Um, you texted me on the minute, Ben. This is not a try for you.
No. So without going all, ooh, the law book says this. A player can dive for the try line to score. That's absolutely fine. A
Mhm.
player can't dive to avoid a tackle.
And
Yeah,
you
Um,
think it's chicken and egg situation.
100%. Like unless we're saying that the Wallabies players on the try line are purely there to look at Sheehan and give him a wave as he dives over. If they're there to attempt the tackle, which I would expect and hope they are, then it's not a try because he's actively diving to avoid a tackle.
Yeah.
And look, it's a difficult situation for Piardi. I am for once this season not going to hound him. I think it is this is right, but this is right. But in the context of the game and context of the series, it's not a try. I said to you
no,
the minute Sheehan touched that ball down, he can't give it.
I thought that too.
It
And look, I know it's so like this would have been a great conversation to have last week. I
no.
understand that. We made the conscious decision we weren't going to talk about the Lions after every week because we'd probably just get bored of it.
yeah.
As you can kind of already tell because we're making jokes about random shit. But I said no try at the time. Ben said no try at the time. Adam, I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
you're no try at the time.
yeah. It was you can't
But that's
jockey a player though. You can.
yeah, but then it's that thing of like, why is rugby like this? Do you know what I mean? And like what one might actually, you know, what, I'm not going to get into my bugbears of online commentary online because fuck that. The other big incident is the Jack Morgan clear out, and this has seen such a reaction because Sky, whether it's great entertainment or shitty optics, decided to play the stand sports commentary on that during a clip at the weekend, and they were firmly this try is going to be ruled out. That is not a legal clear out. Da 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 da. And again, you just have this sense of like, jeez, like the Lions did get out of jail in that game. And
Yeah.
I would have been heartbroken for Jack Morgan of all people if that was pulled up.
Yeah,
Now, there's two trains of thought here. One, there's about 15 of those clear-outs in a game every time. Tizano just looked for the penalty this time. Two, if you're going to go and check it though, you give the penalty.
My question is
So,
also if that's the other way, if the roles are reversed, if it's Will Skelton, it will say on Jack Conan, last minute of a test, Lions are down by a score. The try is given to the Wallabies. Sky Sports will hold an inquisition for 3 weeks. Andy Farrell will stand up in that presser and say it's a penalty every single day of the week because it is.
mm.
The second PRD decides I'm going to check my TMO and he sees the contact, it's a penalty. Like,
And we'll never know. And this is where we're going to do the little bit of insider baseball here. I had this conversation with you over in France, Ben. I don't know how Andrea Piardi made that decision that Finney Wychley did not make a high tackle in the last minute of the La Rochelle game. This was playing through my head when he made this call a week and a bit ago. I was like, I don't know how he came to that conclusion,
yeah.
but there's also an element of like, it's done now. You
It's done.
know,
I like we were in without going back to last season. We were both in La Rochelle. I was 2 rows back from where that tackle happened. Turned to La Rochelle fan beside me and said, "Yeah, it's penalty. No way in the world he doesn't give that. It's penalty." And it was look, it's referee bingo, especially with certain referees. And he decided to go for Showtime and say, "Oh, the great result is Munster getting something out of this." And we had Showtime again 2 weeks ago, where it was what makes me look better and what makes everyone happy.
and it's what
But
World Rugby want as well, which is
it's
another issue. Because like, and this is where I'm going to bring in Adam as opposed to Ben. Sorry, Ben, for silencing you on this one. But a couple of people brought in clips of like the scrums at the weekend, and like, I love Andrew Porter, phenomenal player. He would die for his team, but like, certain angles on scrummaging do not paint him in the best light in terms of his scrummaging angles. And it's
No.
like this is the kind of the debate when you're going to have this debate about calls and about card color and about the nebulistic side of rugby laws. You also have to remember who's the one making the decisions. It's World Rugby, and like
Yeah.
the scrum is a great example of this because a referee should be calling these things, but they can't. Like even if they call resets anymore, it has to be a free kick, tap and go. It
Yeah.
can't be another scrum. So like we can talk about referees like until the cows come home, to use a very Irish phrase, but there's also just an element of like, well, what do you think they're being told? Like, I'm sure Piardi was told, like, I'm not sure Piardi was told that was the right call, but I'm sure with the Sheehan one, there's at least one person saying to him, there was no right call there. Do you know?
Yeah, it's the constant changing in refereeing like opinion and whatever referee you get. Like back in the day, like I'm talking about 10 years ago, you know what type of referee you're gonna get when you see Roman Pot or George Clancy, which used to never had the experience of having that in a game. But like
That's true.
you know what type of ref you're getting there. Whereas now you do like what type of play am I getting the one from last week or am I getting this one from this week? It's like that's like sort of what I mentioned the other week about how World Rugby is struggling to find a class loose head prop because the rules are changing all the time in the scrum that I don't even think the loose head props know what to legally do and what legally not to do, which is why we're talking about this Andrew Porter. How is he getting away with these sort of degrees? How is he getting with these angles in the scrum? Is it what he's getting coached? Is it like is he getting told to like tiptoe along that line of what you can get away
I
with
think they are.
because
yeah,
that's what scrums were. That's what
Well,
scrums always were. But
to move
nowadays
to
it's
move away
more
from
of
scrums for a quick second, look at the mauls.
yeah,
90% of mall turnovers these days are probably borderline illegal because
yeah,
it's usually
yeah.
not a case of did he swim up? It's more of a case of did I catch him swimming
yeah,
up the mall? It's not actually whether they do or
Yeah.
not.
Ireland are
Um,
excellent at coming up along the outside. If referees here,
hmm.
we'll just send Burn up along here and hope the touch judge looks somewhere else.
And
yeah,
like Burns' turnover at the weekend was brilliant. I do think that one was more legal than others,
Yeah.
but I've seen him win mall turnovers before. The one against Saracens back in January was a stonewall penalty, and I'm sure Maro Itoje was thinking at that stage, no, maybe not on on the moment of that whistle, but I'm sure he was thinking at some stage, yeah, I'd have done that too, like
yeah.
100%, because like two of the best mall disruptors, and if we'd loads of time, we'd get into all that.
Yeah. I was gonna say, Ben, like, well, guys as well. Do you not think like the line out ref doesn't get involved as much as they used to now?
Yep.
Like I remember a time when the line out refs used to like hold out a flag if they saw something, or they would at least like say something in terms of penalties. Now they just sort of come up towards the referee and stand and look at the screen. What did you think about
There was a thing a couple of years back. It
that?
might have been EPCR that did it, where it was use your TMO as opposed to using your touch judges. It was one of the professional bodies that like you have a TMO seen everything. That will cover
Yeah.
every angle known to man. Use them. But then you have
Makes
decisions like
sense.
we've seen where
Is
Makes
that
sense.
more is that more of a TV thing? Like, because this is something I'm just gonna pull from the air. I know I'm gonna pull this analogy out. In the IPL in cricket, they call for TMOs. They call for TMOs on purpose because they get a lot of money in adverts in India for those split 5 seconds of what they have. So were they looking at that in terms of like, are we looking at an NFL style? Is that where
How
it's
do we
going?
mute Adam? How do we mute a particular person? No, I don't think there's a TV involvement for rugby, but I do think when it comes to TMO, there is an element of like, should
There's
we
a
look at
novelty
what
to it.
TMO can and can't call? Because
Mhm.
even as it is, and I say this about hurling the whole time, Again, non-Irish listeners, hurling, one of the greatest sports in the world, do look it up. But it's just too hard to referee at the moment. Like a lot of
Yeah.
sports are. It's just too difficult to referee at the moment, and you do have to look at that. And I don't think World Rugby have the appetite because they see further refereeing as a move more towards unionization as opposed to leagueization, and I do think they want to be more like league, which is an entirely different debate. But lads, in something that is not like rugby league, we're going to do something that all the kids did 10 years ago, but we're going to do it now, and we're going to do a tier ranking of the Irish Lions players. And I just want to tell everyone that this has not been pre-planned, so if your player does not end up where you'd like it to be, it's completely off the cuff and not entirely my fault. But here we go. So, sorry, I probably should have been ready to hit share screen straight away, as opposed to having to get the tab up first.
Oh, have you got all the wee photos with their faces on it?
I do. I had to make them portrait and everything. I had to download
Oh,
them one by one. It wouldn't let me download
we're,
like a heap of photos.
We're
we're gonna
proper influencers
proper
now, lads.
At Lions
proper
Rugby.
yes, YouTube influencers. Get it on TikTok.
Right. So we have 5 categories. I don't like the color code, and I just wasn't there changing it. We have world class, we have consistent, and if you have a better word for consistent, that's kind of like they were decent. Fair, like throw it out. We have montage maker, and I'll get onto that first. We've unseen work, one of the great rubonics in rugby, and we have lion. So I'm gonna start us off. Sorry, lads, but this is my call. It's not my show, but it's my call. Hugo Keenan, montage maker. If that decides to work for me, it's very, very slow. There we go. Hugo Keenan is down as a montage maker. So I think that makes sense because he scored that try. It was the moment, it was, the score. And I'm going to throw in Tyke Furlong in there as well. And I'm actually going to come to you, Ben, first on this. Tyke Furlong, 9 consecutive Lions test starts. It's phenomenal. Like, it really is,
Yeah.
isn't it? I know I told you I'd probably break it next tour, but it's phenomenal.
No, but look, Todd Furlong is one of the best props in the world. He does everything. You can put him in every single team and he will look world class. You can't have that record in the Lions jersey and not. Yeah, I a small part of me is like to move him up to consistent because he is
I
Mr.
just wanted to
Consistent in
give
terms of the
them
Lions.
that. I wanted
But
to give those lads that special category. And
that's
I
fair.
think there's more of a case that that category should be above consistent than anything else. But, I'm going to ask the really tough question to Adam, which I realize as he's the youngest in the group that I probably should ask to Ben. But Adam, in your experience, is Tyke Furlong the best Irish Lion of this era?
Oh, do you know what? If you told us like a couple of weeks ago, I think we mentioned how we were sort of skeptical about this tag for a long pick because the question was, does he need club rugby or is he just class and international rugby in general? And I think he is probably the best
Yeah.
Irish Lion in the professional era just because of how he could even push for the next Lions tour. He'd be like, he hasn't played in 12 like in 4 years, but here he is.
Good man,
Um
that'll really set off the 2005 vibes if that happens.
but
Um,
but
yep.
he looks like he shouldn't be an athlete, but he is a class athlete. Like he puts in the shift and he does put in the work as well. Like he's an unbelievable player and also he seems to be a sound fella as well. So fair play to him.
Adam, I'm going to stick with you. I'm going to give you this executive decision. I think we might just take it like 1, 2, 3
Yeah.
from here. Andrew Porter, world class, consistent montage maker. I want to lock that one, but I can't technically. Unseen work or lion.
Um I would put him down as consistent. Consistent? I'd say
We can
consistent.
revisit them all at the end if we're not happy. So
Yeah, I think he's done the like almost like the work that he kind of should have done, but then in parts we say about the scrum as well. But I think he was coming up against a tough opponent in Ellis Genge, and Ellis Genge was pretty class. And Andrew Porter coming off to be that sort of what is it, impact player that he needed to be, like it's sort of like stabilized some parts of the game. So I'd put him down as consistent.
yeah, that's fine. Ben, this is the easiest one in the world. Dan Sheehan, world class or world class?
Yeah, Dan Sheehan's world class. Dan Sheehan's a
That's pretty handy. If I can just if it'll get up there now. No, it won't. Don't mind me. I might just pass off Ronan Kelleher first. Actually, no, I'll do Ronan Kelleher. I think Ronan Kelleher was good in fits and spurts, but didn't have his best tour. I'm gonna put him as the first guy in the Lion category.
Yeah.
He was
Um,
better. He was better than Cowan Dickey. Like,
no,
so-
again, I hope he recovers
Yes,
from his
but
injury. It wasn't hard. Adam, we have two more props to go. Both tight heads. I know you're both connoisseurs of the tight head prop situation. Finley beat him.
um, I'd also put him down as a lion. Everyone sort of would have expected him to make this big sort of imprint on the squad when he came in, and he it wasn't like necessarily like we all knew that Andy Farrell had his 23, so it was a bit difficult to get in that 23. But he did well in the midweek. I think he was sort of that midweek player that he needed.
Ben Thomas Clarkson.
oh, Lion. If there's a lower category, he goes there. Lion.
I mean, he only played once,
Yeah, that's what
so
I mean. Like it feels unfair to have to
Yeah.
put Clarkson in here, but he's in the squad, so Lion claim.
um, we have one more person that, I mean, like Dan Sheehan, it is world class or world class. It is Tyke Byrne. Now, I again have to maneuver him up the ladder bit by bit
Tyke
because,
Byrne gets his own category, just called
Yeah.
Tyke Byrne.
yeah, I mean, but then I suppose you could argue that for Tyke for Dan Sheehan as well. But like, player of
Can
the
he get the
series,
ads by Google Space?
yeah, honestly, um, it's like Tyke Byrne along with Dan Sheehan. I know it's not a sexy thing to say in the general rugby consensus, but I think Tyke Byrne's one of the best locks in the world. I think he's top three, hands down. I know people don't necessarily agree with that. 33 games this season, 32 starts. He's averaging like 76 minutes a game. He was a hero for Munster in some of their big games this year. He was a hero for the Lions. Again, what more can you say? The next one, we have the big mean green Joe, Joe McCarthy up next. Adam, I'm going to throw that one to you. I feel like I feel like it's
He,
between one or two categories here.
well, I would say unseen work.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I think
Yeah,
he started very strong, but
yeah,
obviously with injury and all that that kicked in. I think
yeah.
that's very fair. Ben, James Ryan.
I genuinely think unseen work.
I don't
I
disagree
think
with
when he
that.
played, he was very, very good.
When he came off the bench in the second test, it really was like,
He was impactful.
yeah, it was like, where's this James Ryan being? Do you know
And
what
like
I
he
mean?
surprised me because start to this series, I was like, he is going in the bottom category. He won't do all that well. Whatever James Ryan we got to start of last season, but he was genuinely excellent.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
you have to kind of add a discrepancy there that anyone who plays better in a test match than say, the Waratahs or whatever, that does count for more. And it
It
should
does.
count for more
He's a
because
big game
that's
player,
Yeah.
which sounds really like a Leicester thing you're going to see written on the side of a wall somewhere to like never stop, never stopping. But he is.
yeah, no, genuinely he is. Josh van der Fleer is a tough one for me. I'm gonna go with unseen work. I noticed their second from bottom category. I actually think Josh Van Fleer didn't have a bad tour. He just kind of looked a little bit small at times. I think Curry was probably more impactful. I thought Morgan really thrived because he was playing in kind of wider spaces. I thought Josh would at least get one test match, but he didn't, and
Yeah.
that's
I
just
would
the way it
argue
is.
no test match to drop him down one.
I think that could be argued as well. But then Ronan Kelleher played three tests,
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
so
See,
there's that
uh,
too. Adam, Jack
I th-
Conan. And
I
before we get into
think can
this, Jack Conan, very high minutes, very high work rate. I think he has to go up high.
get consistent borderline world class. He was unbelievable. It was one of those where I think one of the pundits said like, how can Ireland have Doris and Conan, like if Conan wasn't in that sort of Jamie Heaslip to Doris CJ Stander sort of era, that's where he first sort of came in. Like he's quite unlucky that he had like three really great eights, but the fact that he is also himself a really great eight that would probably walk into what maybe like a Scotland, a Wales, borderline England squad. Do you know what I mean? He was unbelievable this tour. I thought he
Yeah.
really pulls it out for the Lions.
And like
On the
six.
point you said earlier, is there an argument that Conan is going to be Ireland's best line this professional era?
No, because I think you can't. I think the gap
Not
between him and
above
Furlong is too
Furlong, but he's
big.
just been consistently in every single tour
Yeah,
he's been
I
there
mean
for.
six straight test starts is
Yeah,
phenomenal for a
Wild.
lad
Yeah.
who before like not even the fact that like before like midway through the Six Days of 2021 he was playing well. Before that England game, before CJ Stander announced he was going to retire, no one would have had Jack Cohn in that squad. They'd have just
Yeah.
penciled in CJ Stander. So
Yeah.
for me, yeah, he's right up there.
like I appreciate me saying this, considering I've been very vocal in recent years about how we shouldn't be in the Irish squad, but he legitimately
Well,
has been excellent.
there's something about timing your run, like it has to be said. And a lad who's good at timing his run when it comes to just his general all around play. Maybe not at his very best, Ben, but Jemison Gibson Park, I
It,
think the combination with him and Russell worked better than I expected it to be
yes,
honest.
and purely for that, he gets consistent in my head.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Adam, if you
Um,
anything to bring in on Jemison Gibson Park, I know a lot of the Gibson Park talk can be quite withering because, like everything else, no one's allowed to be okay. Everyone is world
Yeah.
class or just not good enough in Ireland. But like, I think he had a good tour. Do you know?
Yeah, I think he needed to do what he needed to do with Finn Russell outside of him. Because we talk about Gibson Park being a very he plays off nine. However, he had to sort of suit this role where we play off Russell. And he also did have glimpses of when he plays off nine as well. And I think that's what the beauty of that combination was. He needed to do what he needed to do. Nothing exceptionally flashy, but when you compare him to the other nines on the tour and the other nine, like for Australia, you think he was a great scrum half. He was probably the best scrum half on the tour. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I'd agree. I now granted, I do think Alex Mitchell was kind of sandbagged and wasn't given a chance to impress, but that's a different conversation. That's not Gibson Park's fault. Do you know? That's on a different person. Um, Bundy Aki has come around to me, and I think before the test you'd have put him in consistent. I think after the test you go and unseen work. I don't think he was as bad as people made out. I think there was a kind of sense that because Tui Pilato wasn't playing, he would have been better. But I don't think Tui Pilato has been at his best in 2025. I'd have Bundy in unseen work, and I think it probably has to be said I'd put him ahead of, James Ryan and Josh van der Fleer on that.
yeah.
I don't think that's too controversial. Adam, there's a couple of picks now from here, and I should say congratulations to Bundyaki and his wife on the birth of
Oh
their
yeah,
child, which
Yes,
was
very much so.
embargoed up
yeah.
until yesterday
Congratulations.
evening. Really weird article to embargo. Really, you thought that would be one that you just put out straight away, but anyways, that's media officer stuff. Gary Ringrose. If we're going to talk about players, like credit to him, he deserves credit for pulling himself out of that second test, and he may never get a Lions test cap. I don't like the revisionism around it about like, oh, you should almost give him one as an honorary thing, like anything like that. But he had a very good tour, and I think you can just
Yeah.
acknowledge that for what it is. When he got on tour, he had a good tour, and that's all you can ask for, really, isn't that the
Uh,
case?
I'd say yeah, in the sort of games that you played against like Super Rugby sides and stuff like that, I would almost argue maybe a bit too montage maker in terms of like the tries he scored. He was
Yeah,
very
he
it
did
was,
score a lot
do
of
you know what I mean?
tries by his
He
standard, didn't
scored
he?
he scored a lot of tries by his standard, and his attack rate was more than his standard. Like we would have argued that he was being put in there to fit the defensive setup. However, his attack, I don't know what about the back line that he was playing in, but I'd say montage maker for the amount of tries he scored, and he was, do you know what I mean? This is when you pull up that he actually didn't score enough tries. That
No, he
I thought,
scored three, but he scored three in 4 games. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? So,
So
like
like I
that's
put him
pretty impressive.
and like credit to him for like pulling out, but like that's the thing, it has to be a safety thing.
Yeah,
He would have got a test cap, like we would have said, like he would have, but it's health first. But in those 4 games, 3 tests, I'd say montage maker.
Yeah. I mean, Ben, would you be in favor of putting him in there? Because Adams kind of put it in. It's not just about performances either. I think there will be a narrative around him now that, again, credit to him, but
yeah,
also there's always this sense of like going one step too far. And I do think some of the coverage went one step too far. And I think that's why he's actually a good shout for this category. To just be like, "Do you know what? Was really good, had some good stuff. He'll be remembered as a guy who probably would have played a test, but he pulled himself out.
exactly. I think
That's
Ringos would
okay.
have started the second test. I don't think there's any real debate over that. He did something very admirable. Now, I don't, the levels of discourse that went around it certainly went too far. But in terms of when he played, he was excellent. He did 100% the right thing by his own mind, and he hopefully will influence good habits going forward, I guess.
Mhm.
Yeah, montage maker. I wouldn't go any
You'd
higher
hope
than that.
so.
That's where I put him.
You'd hope so, but I wouldn't hold that much hope
No.
if that was me, to be honest. I think the next four are all really interesting because I think we could potentially disagree on all of them. Ben, Mac Hansen first.
Lion. I don't put him any higher than that. And I feel really bad saying it because I love Mac, but he just didn't have, by his own standards, he
I
didn't
mean,
have the
I'm gonna
best
pull up
foot
a
work.
stat here. The only two outside backs not to score a try was himself and Blair Kinghorn, and I don't think anyone would be saying that Blair Kinghorn was at his best, to be honest.
No, and like you can argue Hansen didn't have the best season in general.
Yeah,
He had a chance in the Lions tour to show he is as good as we know he is. Unfortunately, wasn't at his best yet. He can't go above line.
showed flashes in fairness. Um, James Lowe, two test starts, comes up with one of the big plays in the second test, which is why it is super hard for me to make a call on this because I was counting ahead and I was like, shit, this one's gonna come up to me, and I'm not a big fan of this. But yeah, what do you think, lads? Because I think you could make a case that he's in probably weirdly consistent because I don't think he was like either too high or too low. Don't think he was at his best. I think you can make a case for any of those bottom three. So Adam, quickly in a word, which one is he in? Or two words, Brendan.
Um, Unseen work.
Ben?
Lion.
Oh, I'm gonna go unseen
Okay.
just because of that offload and his ability to turn
I
nothing into something, and he's shown that for so long for Ireland. But
the issue with the back three was they weren't used enough in that
no,
system.
Yeah.
no.
They weren't used
Um,
enough because when you think of like the Lions went past, like Tommy Freeman started three tests. What did he objectively do? What did Mac Hansen objectively do? What did like Lowe
Bar,
objectively
bar, bar
like
the
those
last 20 minutes of that
flashes?
second test, I don't think they
Yeah,
did a lot. Freeman made a
no.
couple of good carries where he just got in someone's inside shoulder and he's deceptively strong. But that's about it.
No.
Ben, it comes to you for I'm pretty sure we 20 names. I'm pretty sure I skipped something here. Oh no, sorry. Who's this? Low was mine. Sorry. So
yeah.
Adam,
Oh no.
Jamie Osborne is yours. Oh, do you know what? I know he only played twice.
He was pretty good to be
He
fair.
was good.
He
He was pretty good. Like was it can that be like borderline?
Oh no, he only played
Can it be,
once. Sorry. I
oh,
thought he played twice.
right. Uh,
That's on me.
uh,
Sorry, guys.
He
I,
was good when he played. Oh,
he was
oh.
good.
God.
He was good when he played, and that's why this is like we're gonna get the comments going like you can't judge him off that. However, you could if playing one game, scoring one try, being objectively good, would you put him like above the likes of Mac that's played how many games did Mac play?
Mac played 5 games, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you can't. He has to be objectively in Lion because he only played once,
If we're
and that's
criticizing
not.
Mac for not doing enough, and then
But yeah,
yeah,
that's the thing. But then, do we want to set a bin fire in the comments?
Well, you see, the flip side of that is, Ben, and I know we're pretty close on time and we already have to cover the women's game next, but Jamie Osborne came into this squad under a lot of scrutiny
yep.
very, very
He
well. And
I'm
that,
he
fairly
did
sure we were
it
very
didn't.
critical of him 2 weeks
We
ago.
were yeah we
to be
were.
fair, I think we're more critical of the selection rather than Osborne. I think
Yes,
we're
yes,
fairly
yes,
confident in
yes.
Osborne's abilities.
Yeah, I think Osborne should have been in the Lions like squad in the general scheme of things. It's sort of like
Mm.
that Darcy Graham should have been in the
Yeah.
general squad. Do you
Well,
know what I mean? Like,
do you know what? Lee can clip this up if you want. I don't think Darcy Graham should have, and I think the way that the tour panned out proved that. I don't think he made a difference, to be honest. But
well, so you can't do a lot in
so
16
where
minutes.
are we going? Osborne then. Unseen work, Lion. He had a very good 80 minutes, and like he moved around the backline that
Unseen,
game.
I'd say unseen.
Would
Yeah.
we go high ahead of Bundy?
Not ahead of Bundy. No, we
Okay,
can't.
he's
No.
okay. Sorry. Okay,
No,
I'm
we
gonna put him behind
can't.
James Ryan, so because you can't go.
Can we shift low up a little bit higher? He did start two
Um,
tests compared to the
that's
rest of
true.
the. Do you know what I mean?
That's true. I'll give you that. Because Osborne had a brilliant 80 minutes. Finally, here's the one now. I can't believe this has fallen to Ben. I've absolutely screwed the booch on this.
Speaking of
Andy
dumpster
Farrell.
fires in the comments.
Now, can I just go through this, right? 2001 lost. 2005 lost 3-0. 2009 lost by the time the second test came around. 2013 won. Andy Farrell was also on that tour. 2017 draw. 2021 lost. 2025 they won again. But I feel like you're not going to put Andy Farrell as, even though montage maker he probably fits the bill. I don't think he's going to hit world class. So Ben,
He's not. He's above Lion. There's no debating that.
okay. Do we go montage maker because he's the coach and he'd be the face of it?
Uh,
No, he didn't make any montages. Johnny made more
I
than
was
he
gonna
did.
say
Unseen work.
Johnny,
Unseen work. I think because it was a tour they should have won, and okay, they did win it. But Andy Farrell did what Andy Farrell does.
I
Like
don't disagree with that, to be
he
honest.
did nothing
I will
special.
I will keep
Unfortunately,
going.
I'm
I'm going to
sorry.
try
Please
and
don't
zoom out and get
hound me.
screenshots.
like, would you argue that this Lions tour didn't have any arguably, bar like the probably Hugo Keenan try, any arguably objectively great tries? Do you know what I mean?
And it's had
Like
a few in the series now, in
in,
fairness.
in the series against
James
like the
Lowe's
it's like
setup
yeah
in was it the second test? That's
yeah
incredible.
yeah. So
Yeah.
like, but
And
then would you
the
like?
Tom Wright try was phenomenal.
But it felt like the 2017 tour, it was just like you had to score
Yeah,
brilliant tries, and the other team had to score brilliant tries. But these most of these ones were like typical Andy Farrell, bash ball, throw it
Yeah.
to
I
Shane on the
mean,
wing, you know?
they did say we have to get more direct and do all that, and they did. Just really quickly for our podcast listeners, because we do need to start wrapping up soon. World class, Tyg Byrne, Dan Sheehan. We okay with that?
yeah,
Yep.
Okay. Consistent, Jack Conan, Andrew Porter, Jameson Gibson Park.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Montage maker, Hugo Keenan, Tyg Furlong, Gary Ringos.
Hmm.
Okay.
yeah.
And then unseen work, Joe McCarthy, Bundy Aki, James Ryan, James Lowe, Jamie Osborne, Josh Van der Fleer, and Andy Farrell.
Yeah.
Van der Fleer.
Van der
Oh,
Fleer is an interesting one.
it's very interesting.
Could we go, like, because I don't think he played badly, but
It
it,
wasn't the spectacular World's Player of the Year, Van der Fleer
no.
that we've seen.
And that's
And
my point.
Are we
It
going
wasn't Van
line?
der Fleer who can be Van der Fleer.
if it was Van der Fleer, Tom Curry wouldn't have been in the squad, like in that test squad.
Yeah,
Okay, we're going line.
And did Tom
sorry.
Curry play unnecessarily well enough to be in that? Do you know what I mean?
I think
It's
Tom
one of
Curry
those.
proved the selection was the right call.
Yeah, he definitely did, but it was that thing that did Van der Fleer put enough pressure on him that we all thought he should have
Well,
to
there's
be
no
in that
disrespect for
test
Van
squad.
der Fleer.
No,
He's very good and had a good tour,
like
but he wasn't as good as we all know he can be.
And I think he may have been the third best open side on the tour.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think
And
that's the side of it.
the thing about this tier list is that the comments need to know that there's no bad tier in this. If
no,
you're a
no, no, no. They're
lion,
all still lions.
if you're a lion, you are incredible. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I don't want any solicitors' letters, so
Yeah.
especially because they won't be able to send them to Lee because they'll be like, where am I going to send this to? So we've changed that for anyone on audio. Unseen work is now Joe McCarthy, Bundy Aki, James Ryan, James Lowe, Jamie Osborne, and Andy Farrell. And in the lion category, it is, or we should change that to just be a lion because that seemed to be a tag word for a while. Ronan Keller, Josh Van der Fleer, Mac Hansen, Finley Beelum, and Thomas Clarkson. Gentlemen, thank you very much. We are going to move on because we still have loads to talk about. Well, we've got one game to talk about, and the lads decided, oh, I can't see this because I'm watching other things. I'm like, okay, fair enough, but right, I'll just fucking carry the load here. So what we do have to discuss is Ireland's win over Scotland at the weekend. Ireland women down in Cork taking on the Scots, who they'd lost to in the Six Nations, but come out on top. By 27 points to 21. It was actually a pretty impressive win considering they were 14-0 down at one stage. Um, I suppose, like, where do you start in a game like this? Like, Ben, we kind of spoken about it before with different things. World Cup warm-ups they are very pre-seasony. This was a very pre-seasony game, like, for sure. I know you didn't really get to see a lot of it, but
I look.
win,
Hang up. I listened to most of it on radio. What I heard, we started very sloppy, but when
mm,
the game got going, when they got into their cohesion and flow, they actually started playing very well. And Scotland
yeah.
had no real answer by the last 20 minutes of the game.
Can
And that's
can
all you
I
want in a
jump?
World Cup warm up.
Can I jump in there? because Grace Moore gave a fantastic answer to this in an interview to Michael Corcoran, who was doing the commentary on radio that you had been listening to. And look, I know I'm biased because I heard this the day before and got to type it up. She said, I think this is a fantastic answer. Rugby is not always a perfect game, and yeah, the start wasn't great, but we came together and we stuck in it together. We pulled each other out of those deep places. We got into our purple patches, and we grew as a team together throughout that game. And I'm like, and I know this is a rant, right? But why can't more press conferences be like this? Because I've sat in so many of them where I've heard Tom Ahern being asked, like, what's the difference between playing 4 and 5? And I've asked, like, I've heard the most random ass questions that don't help anything. And I'm like, that's a really, really good answer in terms of,
Yeah.
yeah, we were poor, but you know what? We turned to each other and we said, we got this. It's the first 20 minutes of our season. We'll be fine. It's a great answer. But, like, I don't know. And it's, I could rant for days about lots of things, as people will find out over the course of the season. Very interestingly, Ireland had a couple of returnees. Sam Monaghan only played 34 minutes in this game, but did look impactful when she was on, especially in the last passages. There was a couple of debutants, Ivana Kiripati and Nancy McGillivray from the start, and Aidish Quinn from the bench. Aidish Quinn of Ballina. Ballina, of course, home of Caelan Doris, the Ireland captain. They all have interesting stories, actually, because Nancy McGillivray as well she was born over in, I think she was born in Hong Kong, or had been living there
Oh,
underage, and that's where she picked up rugby, was in Hong Kong, playing sevens and playing tens rugby. She later moved to England, ended up in a Red Roses training panel, and in something that we don't see too often by Ireland, when she wasn't capped, Ireland decided to call her up because they said she's Irish qualified. This one could be an absolute star for us.
oh, that's class.
Okay, brilliant.
It's a really good
That's
story,
really
and
good.
like credit to off the ball and Susanna Mullen who spoke to her afterwards, and that's how I found out most of this. Just like some really really like cool background, and as well as that,
Yeah.
Ivana Kiripati, I'm lucky enough to know her father quite well. Used to play for Buccaneers in the AIL, and when I say this man is a gentle giant, Colo Kiripati, the epitome of it. Like I've seen that lad run over, or that the man, he's much older than me, run over guys at AIL level, and then just handshake and a hug and whatever else that needs to be done. Like a giant and a brilliant coach over at Craig's. And I think this is one thing that we will touch on with the women's team. So many different clubs involved. Ballinasloe, Craig's. I know Ballina's a little bit different now. Amy DeCostigan came from somewhere in Tipperary. I can't remember. Was she Clonwilliam in Tipperary? I think I could be wrong. Obviously two from Van
Sure,
Slow, as
yeah.
I said. Like you just have these different clubs. Dervla Nicovard, who I have it in my notes here that she came from.
See,
Give me 2 seconds. Give me 2 seconds. I have in my notes for the World Cup. She's from Ballincollig. Again, another club who's just rising and rising in recent years, and I really like that. But
I saw her trying highlights. It's fantastic. Excellent
yeah,
finish.
great delivery.
Excellent finish.
I did hear
Really
Fiona
impressed.
Hayes saying I've played with her. There was no way she was giving that to someone else to run it in. But credit to her, she's had like a really up and down. Like she was first in the Ireland squad at 17. She's like 26 now.
Yeah,
And she had injuries and she took time out of the game and loads of different things. And I think that's something that they thought the green wave will be a buzzword that you'll see in Irish media over the month of September and the end of August. There's a green wave behind this team. It's gonna be a lot of fans in Brighton. It's gonna be really, really cool. Just a shout out again to Grace Moore, who was brilliant. I thought, Cleena Maloney McDonald was tidy. Maeve Deedy was brilliant at fullback as well. But again, you kind of talk about these things, and World Cup warm-up games shouldn't mean that much. But like Scotland had played a week before, raced into a 14-0 lead. They'd already beaten Ireland
the
back in
Six
April in the
Nations.
last game
Yeah,
of the Six Nations. This is an Ireland team without Dorothy Wall, without Aoife Wafer, without Erin King. Neve Jones was on the bench, as was Linda Dewgang, Fiona Jute, a few like that. Not first choice. Stacey Flood wasn't involved, for instance, Aoife Dalton. And they grounded out. And they scored, what was it, 5 tries in the end, and they grounded out and they got the win. They'll play Canada next week. And Ben, I know you were going to touch on this. Canada, a lot of people reckon they're probably the real sleeping giant of the tournament because they're kind of coming in under the radar. They're probably this Grace Moore or Brittany Hogan, I can't remember which, said probably the second best team in the world at the moment. That'll be a tough game for Ireland, but the fact that they had a competitive game is probably important as well because the Six Nations can tend to be very much get hammered by England, beat a couple of teams fairly convincingly, to have a really competitive game
yeah,
off the bat and to come out on top. That
yeah.
just sets you on the right path as well.
And like, I think it doesn't expect like the Canada game might not go great, But again, it's all about building going towards the World Cup. Last time we played Canada, tough day out. Again, they
Well,
learned from
it was a
it.
narrow loss, just
Yeah,
20 minutes of indiscipline cost them.
I, I played many times. You don't learn an awful lot from warm-ups. The Scotland game actually showed us more than I thought we would.
Mm.
A couple of players put their names up to get on that plane, which is fantastic. And look, may not be Canada fine, but going to England, we're in a healthy place. We'd be looking
Yeah,
at
no,
knockout anyway and go from there.
I'd agree. And I think of that, like, I think Dervin Nicoforge and Nancy McGillivray and Maeve Deed are probably the ones who really stood out for that, because I think they actually, like, you're like, okay, they may have played themselves onto a plane here,
Yeah.
with those performances. And that's what you want to see. You don't always see it with the men's because it's more of a 4-year cycle, whereas the women's, it's more 18 months to 2 years because there's more turnover of players, as would happen in a semi-pro game. But and just moving on, because like we said, we'll be talking about all passages of Irish rugby over the coming weeks. The women's Interpros kick off this weekend, and the first round, if I have it open, I do.
It's
These Leinster host Ulster on Sunday in Energy Park at 2:30. Munster take on Connacht in the Musgrave Park at 4:15. Both the games on Sunday, both games on TG Carr's YouTube page, I believe. Some games may be on TV, I'm not 100% sure how that's going to work. But to be on their YouTube channel, should be available for the likes of Adam to watch as well. They should be worldwide, unless BBC iPlayer pick up a few games. But again, like, this is kind of the buzzword you always hear in rugby, off Broadway. This is off Broadway, because a lot, like, there's like 40 players in the Ireland camp, but you still look at some of the squads. I know, like, Leah Tarpey's a big name absentee for Leinster because she picked up a knock. Maeve O'Gleary is captain Munster, for example. She's more than good enough to be in the Ireland squad if
Yeah.
injuries had been kind to her. I think
I
this
was
could
down
be
in
very competitive.
I was down in UL last week
Mm.
when it was a Munster women and Connacht women provincial warm-up game. Where they did 420s rotated through squads, with the last 20 being as close to full 15s as possible. Prendergast at 9 looked fantastic for Munster. And also Chloe Pierce just carrying, like, literally like the reincarnate CJ Stander, just barreling through
As
people.
always, as always.
Was it's actually, it's been really exciting for the Pro Series because Leinster, while looking strong, don't look as strong as they have in previous years. Munster in a really good place. Connacht, I didn't get names because, as I said, we weren't given any team sheets. But the Connacht wingers looked insane. It's just speed for days, and their 9 was super quick. I've seen nothing of Ulster as of yet, but I'm really, really excited for the Interpro series.
Yeah, well, I'm going to throw out, it's not a random name, but we will get on to random names in just a minute. Adam, do you know who's actually coaching the Ulster women this year?
Oh, is it Eric O'Sullivan?
It is. It is Eric
Nice.
O'Sullivan.
Yeah, Eric O'Sullivan,
He's
yeah.
he's actually the fiance of Fiona Chews, who's in the
Yeah.
Ireland squad, and he was originally with them as a scrum coach. He's now taken on a defense coach role, I believe, or
Yeah.
a general assistant coach role.
Yeah.
He will be doing scrums as well. But that's really cool to see as well, because I've said it before that more things in Irish rugby should be streamlined. I
Hmm.
would have been very vocal in 2022 or 2023 that we should have had a statement from the men's players about what was happening in the
Yeah.
women's game in Ireland. I think we need like one player comment on it over the course of that
Mm.
Six Nations, which was wrong in my opinion. But yeah, no, that's definitely good to see. I don't know why he's a coach, but like Ulster have a
I
habit of producing lads who want to be top AIL coaches, so maybe
yeah.
that's a pathway for him.
I think Eric O'Sullivan, like, he had his struggles with injury and stuff like that as well. So him doing that coaching side of things, I reckon he's an incredible knowledge of the game. Like, when he first burst onto the scene, it just seemed like he had this incredible base knowledge of the game. So I'm excited to see what he
Still
can
has one
do.
test cap to his name
Yeah.
against Georgia. Back when he was
Yeah.
backing up Finley Bealham at Loosehead, but I think that might be as random as we're going to get today. But like
Well,
really fun.
Sorry,
Well,
guys.
we get on to that thing. Really fun, like bunch of fixtures in this, and I suppose the one caveat that I will say is each of the last couple of years since COVID, it has been Munster against Leinster. It's predominantly a Munster v Leinster competition to see who wins. Um, but this year might be a little bit different because obviously Leinster have so many players in the Ireland squad. Or Munster would have a good few players in the Ireland squad as well. Granted, they'll have more of that core UL Bohemians side who went on to win the All Ireland League. In a cracking and one of the best games of rugby that I
Yeah, it
seen
was
last
stunning
year
final.
was that final between Railway and UL Bows. Just end to end, brilliant stuff. And as well as that, you might have a couple of players dropping back to play the later stage of the Interpros if they miss out on selection. You think of like Kate Flannery and Nicole Fowley. Very unlikely Ireland bring more than 2 10s, considering the minutes Dan O'Brien gets, just as an example. So you could see players in the latter stages. The finals day will be in Donnybrook on Saturday.
Is that confirmed as Donnybrook? Yeah.
It's confirmed as Donnybrook as Saturday the 30th of August. But there's no clash with Ireland, I believe. If I looked into it, I think Ireland played the Sunday, if I'm right. I think Ireland might be playing 3 Sundays in a row. I could be wrong. But I looked into it, I'm pretty sure there's no clash in terms of either fixture times or whatever way they've done it. There's no like direct clash. So again, these games are going to be on TG cards. They're going to be streamed in some capacity. Well worth watching. There'll be some good players there, and they could be the players playing in the Six Nations next year. Lads, I was going to do World Cup kits for Ireland because they are unreal.
That away kit, my God.
Yeah, that
So
way
nice.
it's lovely.
But
Stunning.
Yeah.
we'll talk about that in a bit because they're either going to wear that either against Canada or in one of their first 2 games, more than likely, because you have to sell jerseys. So we'll talk about that another time. I don't think there's any major news in Irish rugby recently. I know a couple of teams are probably still holding out to maybe get assigned to. I know Leinster announced their academy. We'll get onto that when we do our Leinster season preview, which will probably be one of the last ones in September because they are the reigning champions. But Adam, it's that time of the evening or the morning or the afternoon or whatever it is that we're going to just talk about random rugby players.
Yeah, it's
I would actually love we did like a mini segment and just put it up on YouTube and just did random Irish rugby players you may have forgotten about every single week. And I might even ask you, Ben. Go on, Adam. Is there anyone that comes to mind?
So my dad told me, because I was just back home for a couple of days, my dad told me, because he's a cricket umpire, he umpired Mike McComish and Ian Whitten.
Oh my goodness.
They were playing on the same team. And I was just like, unbelievable. I was like, it really writes itself here.
I remember those guys. Well, Ian
That's
Whitten, not as
stunning.
bad, but like, wow. Didn't McComish have a stint with Connacht?
He did. I think he started with. He might have started with Connacht and then he came to
Maybe.
Ulster. But he's from Lisbon. Like, hold on,
Yeah.
let's have a look.
Because that's so right. Because him and Roger Wilson, and there's someone else that came through at that period. Oh my God. Willie Anderson's son. What's his name again?
Woody Anderson's son. What, the
Yeah.
fashion designer?
No, not the fashion designer. His son also played for Ulster / Connacht.
Hold on,
My
I'm gonna
God,
try
that
to say.
is incredible. Mike McComish is 6'3". Jeez, he's a big man.
Yeah,
That's class.
Mike McComish is a massive like bodybuilder now. Like he was
Yes.
big when he was
What?
playing. Yeah,
Says
yeah.
it here.
There's
Wow.
another player I can just
Christ,
pull-
he's shredded. Oh my God.
Yeah, I know, that's what I mean.
He's
Yeah,
shredded.
yes. Yeah. And, we'll just
Christ
share it on the
above.
screen. Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to throw that out. I need to share my screen. This is
Yeah.
so random, but it's so brilliant.
He's
Right.
wild
Mike
now.
McComish. I'm sorry, people. I'm sorry if this has to get an NSF
What?
key warning.
You're gonna have to put your ID into YouTube to see this podcast now.
Honest to God. Well, only in the UK. Sorry,
But,
I have to
see-
click the wrong link. Open the new tab. Ah, damn it. I'm after losing it.
Oh.
No, but
Right.
see another one that I could pull out of my head as well. Sean Doyle, who had a stint at
Oh,
Munster,
yeah.
didn't he? So
Yes.
Kiwi guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
That man's 40 something.
yeah,
Wow.
he's
Jeez.
right.
You've got some fucking catching up to do. Ben, do you know anyone that comes from? I know you name dropped Chloe Pierce, who's one of the best women's players in Munster for the last 10 years, and a proud. She is Limerick, isn't she?
She is Limerick, yes.
She is Limerick. A proud Limerick woman at that. Have you anyone that comes to mind? I know Mike McComish, Sean Doyle, and Ian Whitten. One of them less random than the rest, to be fair. Yeah, anyone that comes to mind?
For some reason, I think I may have said it previously. I don't know why. Ulster 9 Angus Lloyd always comes
Yes.
into my brain
Angus
every
Lloyd.
time I think of a
Oh,
player. I don't know
hold
why.
Hold on.
He
Wait,
played
keep
once
chatting,
in Tobin,
keep chatting,
had
this
an
is-
excellent game, and
Yeah.
then never appeared again.
Didn't
Did
he
he
went
really
back
play
to
against-
Dublin? Is he a doctor?
Yeah, I think he's Dr. Angus Lloyd now.
Yeah, I think he's a doctor.
But I swear, I've got a picture of him when I was 14 and I'm taller than him.
Which was
So I'm
really
trying to,
saying
like-
something.
I vividly remember him playing. We were in the terrace and being like, "Oh,
Was
he's
it-
very
was it-
good," but he just
It
never
was
appeared
against
again.
Ulster. It
Yeah.
was the
Yeah.
time they mic'd up Simon Zebo. If you look it up, Simon Zebo mic'd up, and there's at one stage where he's like, Angus, well done, Angus.
Angus.
Oh my God, that is
Angus
random
Lloyd.
as hell. I
That
could
is
get
so
a couple
random.
of Connacht ones who would be random enough.
Oh, do you remember? Hold on, I'm just looking through my Instagram now. The former scrum half. I'm gonna have to Paul Rowley.
No,
How
that's
about,
too random
how
for
about
us.
Sam Windsor?
Sam Windsor, I
Oh
remember because
wow.
that name might scream Ulster Rugby a little bit more than other names. Do you know who's after coming to my head now? Because you were on about a Clontarf player. Do you remember Leo O'Vaha? He was like the next Leinster number 8, was with Old Belvedere. Big, powerful guy, just before the Jack Conan era.
Yeah,
Ah, lads, we could
excellent.
get a couple of minutes out of this every week. Is that Pete? Hey, I'm Peter Manny.
No,
For
but look at
anyone.
how young I am.
Yeah, you're really showing yourself up there, man.
Baby
I'm very
P.
sure of myself up. Very
Um,
sure of myself up.
I'm old enough to remember squad photos with like Tommy Bowe in the Ireland squad and things like that, and and Paul O'Connell in the Ireland squad. But I suppose so are you as well, gents. We'll
Yeah.
leave it at that. We're gonna have to do this, and if not every week, every 2 weeks, because this was very very fun.
I've got a. I could just point out. Hold on. I've got a one last thing. I've got
Okay.
an Ulster Science shirt from 2013, 2012 that I can just label out. Look, there's Michael Heaney's signature.
Ah, the man, the myth, the legend, Michael Heaney.
Right below where Ruin Pinar signed. Ruin Pinar's there. Michael Heaney is somewhere there. So
Maybe in another day when it's really quiet, we'll talk about why Ruan Pienaar leaving Ulster was the best and worst thing to ever happen in Irish rugby. And both, because it would have to be both, because John Cooney going up there became a cultural icon. But gentlemen, we'll leave it at that for this morning. I have this tonight in our notes, but we decided to record in the morning time. We'll be back later on the month. I know it's a little bit stop start. It's just, the way it is. To kick off our season previews, we will have a dedicated episode on each of the 4 provinces. We're going to start with Connacht, and then I think we're going to go Ulster, Munster, and then Leinster. We have loads of different segments. We're going to do like depth charts. We're going to do, new signings. There hasn't been a lot of new signings actually in Irish rugby this
Not
year.
yet. It'll be
not
We're
right.
going to
really.
do
Well,
predicting our teams, predicting the matches. Adam, you're going to say?
I was gonna say we've got like a couple of props. That's an Augustus. Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose Angus Bell is a pretty good signing.
I'd like a prop.
But yeah, we would also like a prop. Sorry, I'm the Connacht representative on this. I'm the neutral representative, really. But yeah, that's all to come. That'll be coming up at the end of the year. We're actually going to be just timed it right that we're going to be on in time for the Women's World Cup. So we'll be covering each and every one of the Ireland Women's Rugby World Cup matches. So please do stay tuned for that. If you do like what you see or hear, or if you've got a random rugby player that you want to drop in, maybe you are a random former pro rugby player and you want to drop that into our
Oh,
comments. That
Please.
would be something.
that's the dream. That's the
That's the
dream
dream.
that we get. Like instead of doing that, we just bring them up on Zoom randomly. Like, oh, here's
That
David
requires a
McElwain.
lot more planning than you would
Yeah.
imagine.
A
But
comment will do, but if you want to come on, that's fine.
yeah, if you want to come on. If you do like what you see or hear, make sure to smash the like, subscribe buttons on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Turn on that bell icon to be notified for when we are back, but it will be around World Cup time. If you do have any questions or thoughts, or you are a random rugby player, you can get us on Twitter at the Interpro Show. You can get us on We're on Facebook as well. We're on a load of different platforms in the comment section where producer DG is always watching. But from me, Kaelon, from all the team, from Adam and from Ben, and of course we'll hope to have a Leinster guest on in the near future. Until next time, Slán agus Bannacht.